Psalm 97 in the King James Version (KJV) is a powerful hymn celebrating the Lord's reign and its impact on the world and his people. Here's a breakdown of verses 1 to 12 and their meanings. 1. The Lord reigns and earth rejoices. Verse 1. The Lord reigneth, let the earth rejoice, let the multitude of isles be glad thereof. This opening declares God's sovereign rule over all creation. It's a call for the entire earth, including distant lands, isles, and to rejoice because of his reign. God's majestic and just rule. Verse 2. Clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. God's presence is veiled in mystery, clouds and darkness, suggesting his holiness and unapproachable nature. His rule is founded on righteousness and justice, ensuring fairness and order. God's power and judgment. God's power is displayed as a fire that consumes his enemies. The earth trembles at his might and mountains melt like wax in his presence. God's glory and the shame of idols. The heavens proclaim God's righteousness and all people witness his glory. Those who worship idols will be disgraced, and even false gods are called to worship the Lord. Sun rejoices. Zion and Judah are glad because of God's righteous judgments. God is the highest and most exalted being above all others. Love for God and protection. Those who love God should hate evil as he protects his followers. He saves them from the wicked. Light and gladness for the righteous. Righteousness is rewarded with light and gladness. The righteous are encouraged to rejoice in the Lord and give thanks for his holiness. In summary, Psalm 97 emphasizes the Lord's righteous and powerful reign, inspiring joy and hope in those who follow him, while demonstrating his authority over all creation and false idols. Psalm 97 1-12 in the King James Version is a celebratory psalm praising God's reign and the righteous who will be protected and rewarded. It proclaims God's power, justice, and his care for those who love him. The psalm invites both the earth and God's people to rejoice in his rule, highlighting the contrast between God's righteous governance and the wickedness of those who oppose him. Key themes and meanings. God's reign. The psalm emphasizes that God reigns over all creation, bringing joy and order to the world. Righteousness and justice. God's reign is based on righteousness and justice, not on power or conquest, according to one Bible study tool. Protection of the righteous. God's faithful servants are protected and delivered from evil, experiencing light and joy in his presence. Contrast with the wicked. The psalm highlights the contrast between the righteous who rejoice in God's rule and those who oppose him, whose reign will be short-lived. Invitation to rejoice. The psalm concludes with an invitation for the righteous to rejoice and give thanks to God. Specific verses and their meanings. Verses 1-7 describe God's power and majesty, his throne of righteousness, and the awe he inspires in the earth and even the Gentiles. Verses 8-12 focus on the protection and reward of the righteous, including their joy and light. Verse 10 assures those who hate evil that God protects and delivers them from the wicked. Verse 12 invites the righteous to rejoice in the Lord and give thanks for his holiness. In essence, Psalm 97 is a powerful declaration of God's reign and a promise of protection and joy for those who love him and follow his ways. The psalm begins describing God on his throne, with all the elements of the physical world being subject to his power and authority. The earth, its coastlands, clouds, darkness, fire, lightning, mountains, and the heavens all recognize God as their sovereign king and are at his disposal. What is the sermon on Psalm 97:12? God is most high over all the earth, exalted above all gods. Then you get to the end and the psalm says, "Rejoice in the Lord, O you righteous, and give thanks to his holy name." There is a joy and a satisfaction that is found in God that nothing in this world can compare with. What lesson does Psalm 1 teaches us? Psalm 1, typically ascribed to David, stresses the importance of ordering one's life according to God's word. This emphasis sets the tone for the rest of the collection of Psalms. Themes in this passage echo the early chapters of Proverbs, with an emphasis on seeking godly wisdom. When your only prayer is tears, have you found that when you go to pray, all you can do is weep? It's not tears of joy or gratitude, but it's tears that stem from a deep inner sorrow. When the pain of brokenness is so great that the only way to articulate praying is through tears of sorrow and grief. What are the three main points of the psalm? This book is all about the lament, praise, faith, and hope of God's people. When the pain of brokenness is so great that the only way to articulate praying is through tears of sorrow and grief.